you know, when I think in a way, my Goldberg Variations project brings together a lot of who I am. You know, I was talking earlier about how I grew up very specifically with kind of classical music and jazz, really. That's how I grew up. And I played a lot of Bach, and I started playing the Goldberg Variations in my early 20s, and this project just kind of like arose very organically of my playing those variations just for the fun of it, and then realizing that Bach is like doing something very specific in each one, and then feeling like, well, I want to improvise like that. I want to use that idea and see if I can play, you know, all over Solar with it or whatever. And so then this project just kind of grew over the course of 6 years or something, and now I'm touring it like all over the world. You know, I'll be playing it at Ravinia at the end of the month, and playing at the SF Jazz Center in November. And I think I love kind of where I'm coming from artistically at this point in my life. It's like I'll play with Lee Konitz, which is like, you know, Lee has incredible respect and knowledge of the history of jazz. And I think the more I play with him and the more I go back and check it out and try to get deeper into like how you phrase in jazz and you know, how you structure things in jazz. I mean, that's more and more actually something I enjoy getting into in kind of as deep a way as I can. And on the other hand, at the very same time, I'm doing concerts of this crazy program of the Goldberg Variations, written in, you know, 1739, and improvising music after each variation that like can get pretty free, you know, but also tries to be very coherent within that context. But it's like, what I like is that I feel totally myself in both contexts. And I think if people heard both, they would hopefully hear the link, you know, because it's like it comes from a same kind of curiosity. I think that's one of the reasons why playing with Lee works. It's like that curiosity for, even though he's an old guy, what can we do? What can we do right now on the stage that is like maybe a little bit of an untrodden path? And that's the way the Goldberg Variations feels to me. It's very much an untrodden path. Like it's a unique kind of challenge for me to even play that music in the first place, and then to improvise after each one and really try to be fresh, try to create something that's especially reacting to the hall and the audience, and you know what I ate for lunch is it's a pretty great challenge. So that's something I continue to be excited about, and you know, and going forward, I think it's all about developing more and more breadth of different ways to approach music. I'm doing a lot of computer programming because I'm a longtime nerd and I like to program computers. So I'm doing a lot of computer programming, using that to generate music, doing algorithmic music. I've done some concerts now where I have a controller keyboard on the piano, and when I press notes, they get beamed to iPhones sitting in front of like a string quartet or a wind quartet. I've done it both ways. And so I can actually improvise with them in real time, give them notes to play, and then we're all reacting together. They know what notes to play, but they can choose rhythms, they can choose dynamics. You know, so that's something that's like new. Like you couldn't do that even 5 or 10 years ago. And so I'm really interested in the way technology interacts with music. All the while, because my standards for music are high, not doing it as a gimmicky thing, but trying to find exactly what kind of special music we can play, we can make with that new technology. I'm working on a project with Cuban musicians. I actually was out there in March, recorded Cuban sacred music. I have a good friend out there who was a great singer, and she grew up in the Santeria tradition, you know, which has this amazing body of music with bata drums, and everyone in that religion has a personal deity, and hers is Yemaya, the goddess of the sea. So we recorded the music of Yemaya, and this was all her idea, to somehow integrate me into this very ancient and sacred music, you know. So that's something I'm working on, trying to figure out how to bring those things together. And so I wanted to make a trio record too, like come back to that, because my last one was in 2010. So come back to the trio, that's an important thing for me. So it's all just, you know, about widening the scope, but making sure everything has real meaning too. No, but I mean, I would totally agree with that, because all the musicians that I admire, I think, have been very conscious and careful with their body of work. I mean, Keith Jarrett to me is a big inspiration. Like, you look at Keith when he's like, I don't know how old he was, but he was young when he made his singer-songwriter record. Why did he do that, right? It's not a good record, but he did it. And I see that as his way of saying, I've been there, I've done that, I'm capable of doing it, and probably if I made 10 more of these, it might actually get really good, who knows? But like, the point is, that's part of his body of work. And he also, you know, recorded the Goldberg Variations. Am I a fan of his recording the Goldberg Variations? Not exactly, because it's on harpsichord, and the tempos are slow, and it's not a particularly compelling recording, I would find. I mean, I have recordings on harpsichord that I absolutely love of the work, but he did it. And that's part of his body of work. And it's like, okay, even though that recording isn't a masterpiece, we now know why his counterpoint when he's doing free improvisation concerts is so deep. It's because, you know, he spent the time studying that music. And so I really see that kind of breadth as important. A lot of the artists I admire have really created a body of work in that way. And I think, you know, in Keith's case, it's really important that there be a center to it all, you know. And a couple years ago, I think I had a pretty clear realization that my center is jazz, and I really care about jazz, and I grew up with jazz, and I care about taking care of that music, you know, while branching off. So, yeah.
Hi, I'm Louis Nash, and for more interviews, go to jazztimes.com.